Hello and welcome to another episode of the Central District Hoops Report. I'm your host, Justin Griffiths, and in this episode, we will recap the Wednesday, Saturday games from the previous week and jump into this week's slate of games. Plus, we have a huge milestone that was accomplished on Monday night for one of these coaches. They were able to reach the 1,000-win club. All that and more in this week's episode of the Central District Hoops Report. But first, let's go ahead and jump into the first game, Lakeland versus Shawnee. And Lakeland was able to bounce back from an almost upset of Logan on their home floor Monday night and able to control business against Shawnee, winning this one 99-85, mostly off of a huge first half for the Lakers. 44 points in the first half, only giving up 33 in the second half. It was 55-52. So let's go ahead and look at some individual stats for this game. Samuel Hincapia led the way, 9 of 12 shooting, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, had 3 rebounds to go along with 2 assists and finishing with 23 points. Peyton Weimer was 5 of 8 shooting for the Lakers, grabbed 7 rebounds as well and 14 points. And Devin Woods, 4 of 7 shooting, grabbing 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and finishing with 14 points. Off the bench, it was Joshua Bryant, who was 7 of 10 shooting, leading the way off the bench for 16 points. And Sean Dekonovich, who was 5 of 8 shooting, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, good for 12 points. And finally, Johnny Jones was the last Laker in double figures, shooting 2 of 4, both from behind the arc. 4 for 4 from the free throw line, grabbing 4 rebounds as well, finishing with 10 points. For the Saints, they were led by Alan King, a new player that we haven't talked about a whole lot on this podcast. He was 9 of 16 shooting from the field, have 1 assist, 4 rebounds, finished with 20 points. Johnny Anderson, 6 of 13 shooting, 1 of 5 from behind the arc, had 4 rebounds and 17 points. Ladricus Pittman, again, 4 of 11 in double figures with 11 points, had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. Off the bench, it was James Deloche, 6 of 8 shooting from the field, grabbing 10 rebounds and 1 assist to go along with 2 block shots, finishing with 12 points for the Saints. This game is one of the odd ones as we take a look at the team stats, and that is both teams shot the ball relatively well. Shawnee 44% from the field, while Lakeland was 57.6%. You look at the rebounding battle that I always talk about. Whoever wins the rebounding battle normally wins the game. This is one of the rare occurrences where that doesn't happen, as Shawnee out-rebounded Lakeland 41-25 and still lost this game. Turnover battle was even, so you can't even go, well, Shawnee just turned the ball over more times. No, they didn't. It was really right here at the three-point portion. Lakeland was able to net 8 threes compared to Shawnee's 3. And again, that huge first half for Lakeland, able to jump out on Shawnee. Shawnee was able to make it a game getting into the second half, but the first half just proved to be too much for Coach Sparks and the Saints, and Coach Larry picks up his 15th win on the season. For the midweek slate of games, I had this one as being one of my favorites to watch. Kaskaskia versus Lincoln Trail, a rematch of the first round of the district tournament last year, where Lincoln Trail won their first district game in the tournament against these Blue Devils. So Kaskaskia had a chip on their shoulder heading into this game. However, Lincoln Trail was still able to pull out the 92-83 victory over Kaskaskia. Let's go ahead and look at how that happened. Kaskaskia, for a team, shot 40% from the field. Lincoln Trail shot 45.9%. As rebounding wise, they were even. Turnovers about even as well. Lincoln Trail had 1 more turnover than Kaskaskia. 3-pointers about even as well. So it was just the fact that Lincoln Trail went 34 of 74 from the field, while Kaskaskia went 28 of 70 from the field. Again, both teams shot about 40%, so that's where you want to be as a team. It just did not fall Kaskaskia's way for the closest game in Wednesday's slate. Kaskaskia was led by Lionel Hodge, 8 of 19 from the field, had 5 rebounds, 1 assist, finished with a team-high 23 points. Markel Newsom was in double figures with 16 points off of a 5 of 12 shooting night and had 6 assists along with it. Miles Little had a double-double with 13 points, 10 rebounds off of a 4 of 7 shooting performance. Free throw-wise, left quite a bit on the foul stripe, 5 of 18 from the foul stripes for Liddell. And finally, Anthony Stanford was 3 of 6 shooting, good for 10 points, and had 4 rebounds as well. Off the bench, nobody was in double figures for Coach Hancock's team. Jared Mackey was close of a 4 for 10 shooting performance for 9 points. Again, however, no double-figure points there. For Lincoln Trail in Coach Cotton, Ty Williams led the way, 8 of 16 shooting, good for 20 points, had 7 rebounds and 5 assists, while Gabe Omoreggi was 6 of 13 shooting, had 12 rebounds, good for 16 points, so another double-double. However, Omoreggi did foul out in this ball game. Ronnie Ellis stepped up, with 19 points off of a 7 of 12 shooting performance, and grabbed 4 rebounds as well. And Ja'Cory Phillips, 4 of 11 shooting and had 11 points. Their starters were in serious foul trouble, and Coach Cotton only had Marlon Bennett really on the bench that did the scoring. He was 3 of 8, good for 8 points. Again, Omoreggi fouled out in this ballgame, so if Omoreggi stayed in, who knows what this really would have been. Both teams did not shoot the ball particularly well from the foul stripe. 19 of 28 for Lincoln Trail, 23 of 46 for Kaskaskia. Again, that might be another one of those things where you look back on it with how close this game was. 9-point difference, you definitely have that on the board for Kaskaskia. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the rematch in Centralia for these two teams. Up next, we have John A. Logan versus Southwestern Illinois College. This game was really tight at the break. Logan had a 1-point lead, 25-24. They were able to stretch it out in the second half, winning the second half 41-31 for a 66-55 victory over SWIC on their home floor. And this is the type of SWIC that I know that likes to play on their home court, Coach Harrington court. So let's go ahead and look at the stats. Logan, just, again, shooting performance, both of them did not shoot particularly well. Logan was 23 of 61. SWIC, 19 of 65. Ouch. Good for 29.2. Logan, again, not much better at 37.7. Both teams hit 5 threes from behind the arc. SWIC actually out-rebounded Logan 50-35. However, they did have more turnovers, 18-13 in favor of Logan. Let's go ahead and jump to individual scores. First, for Coach Smith-Peters, Logan Volunteers, Marcus Eves was 3 of 7 shooting, 5 of 5 from the foul line, however. Had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, good for 12 points. And Jaden Miles was the only other Volunteer starter in double figures with 5 of 7 shooting, good for 10 points. Also grabbed 3 rebounds and 1 steal. Had 2 block shots. And actually, those are the only 2 that were in double figures. Trio of players had 9 points. That was Taylor Smith off of a 3 of 11 shooting performance, grabbing 5 rebounds as a starter. And then off the bench, Darkel Payne had 3 rebounds off of a 3 of 8 shooting performance, again with 9 points. And Damian Rucker, 3 of 4 shooting, good for 9 points. SWIC, on the other hand, was led by Dalton Hicks, who was 3 of 12 from the field, 5 of 7 from the foul line. Had 10 rebounds, good for another double-double for him, finishing with 12 points. Again, the only SWIC player not to score in double figures as a starter. Regato here had 12 points off of a 5 of 8 shooting performance, and Lee Williams 4 of 8, good for 11 points. But as we look at the scoring between the two teams, we can see that SWIC had Darquan Little, Dylan Craven, and Matthew Kurpru-Elzy with 2 or 0 points. 3 of your 5 starters with very little scoring, and no one really stands out on the bench or as a starter. Not super great, but again, Coach Harrington likes to play a physical type of game. They were able to get that, and again, it was a 1-point Logan lead at the break. So SWIC starting to get back into the rhythm of things for them. However, just not able to beat Logan this time around. And the last game on Wednesday's slate was Wabash Valley at Olney Central, where Wabash Valley was able to win 80-63. They led 41-30 at the break and was able just to extend it more with a 39-33 advantage in the second half. Let's go ahead and look at the team stats for that. Wabash Valley was 31 of 71 shooting. Olney, only dressing 7 players, was 23 of 60. Olney did hit 9 threes from behind the arc compared to Wabash Valley's 4. Free throw advantage was pretty similar. However, Olney left 11 points on the foul stripe. Both of them shot 19. Wabash Valley 14 of 19. Olney 8 of 19. Rebounding wise, Wabash Valley wins 50-34 and won the turnover battle as well, 15-17. For Wabash Valley, their leading scorers consisted of Cole Forlow, who was 7 of 11, with 11 rebounds, good for 18 points. Kevin Anthony had 11 points off of a 3 of 6 shooting performance and grabbing 4 rebounds and 3 assists as well. And Muja Burton was 4 of 12 shooting, good for 13 points and grabbing 4 rebounds. Kamea Chandler was 2 of 5 for 5 points, but he did grab 10 rebounds and had 5 assists. So even though he wasn't scoring for Coach McGee's team, able to contribute bigly in other ways. Off the bench, it was Grigsby, who was 5 of 9 shooting, good for 10 points. Gabe Bird and Johnson both had 8 points off of 4 of 9 and 3 of 8 shooting performance, respectively. For Coach Ledvina's team, he did have 3 starters in double figures. And again, when you're only playing with 7 players, you definitely need your starters to step up. Kasam Nash led the way for Olney with a 6 of 13 shooting performance, good for 18 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Jaleel Bethay was 6 of 15 shooting with 5 assists and 3 rebounds, good for 15 points. And Avian Morse, 5 of 17 from the field, good for 17 points and 3 of 10 from behind the arc. Nash was 6 of 12 from behind the arc. So again, Coach Levina's team only dressing 7. Hard to win a game when you're only dressing 7. But they did put up a good showing in this one. Again, Coach McGee's team just able to ride out that wave in the first half as it was back and forth for a while, and able to establish a little bit more in the second half with a 39-33 in the second half, and able to take that on top of an 11-point lead at the break. Now let's go ahead and move into Saturday's slate of games with Shawnee versus SWIC. In this one, SWIC was able to protect home floor and win this one 62-61. They trailed 26-25 at the break and won the second half 37-35. Let's go ahead and look at the scoring and see how that was done. First, for the traveling Saints, they were led by Johnny Anderson, who was 8 of 16 from the floor, had 6 rebounds, and had 20 points. He was the only Saint in double figure, as Delosh and King both had 7 rebounds on the night as well. Just couldn't get it started from the shooting perspective. Off the bench, Kashawn Washington played was 5 of 12, shooting good for 12 points. And Jalen White had 11 points off of a 5 of 7 shooting performance for Coach Sparks' Saints. For Coach Harrington's Blue Storm, Matthew Cooper-Elzy had 17 points off of 8 of 17 shooting, had 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. So he stepped up from his 0-point performance against Logan. Dalton Hicks had 9 points, along with Dylan Carvin. Both shot it 6 times. Hicks was 3 of 6, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, while Carvin was 4 of 6, 1 from 2 from behind the arc. Hicks had 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals, while Carvin had 6 assists and 3 rebounds. While Regato here was 4 of 5 shooting from the field, 1 of 1 from behind the arc, and 2 of 2 from the foul line. Had 3 rebounds and finished with 11 points. Nick Horace was off the bench for the Blue Storm, getting 10 points off of a 3 of 9 shooting performance as well. So again, as we look into the team stats of that, you see both teams shot it about 40%. SWIC shot it a little bit better than they have in the previous couple of games. From behind the arc, both teams right around that 30% mark. Again, SWIC at 28.6 to Shawnee's 30.8. Free throw wise, both teams left a lot of points at the stripe. Again, one of these rare occurrences where you win the rebounding battle, you win the turnover, or you lose the turnover battle by 1, and you still lose the game by a single point. So that's why I always say, if a team gets blown out, look at the rebounding battle, look at the turnovers. I guarantee you they lost one of those, at least one of those, by a ton. In this case, Shawnee won the rebounding battle by 5, lost the turnover battle by 1, and they still lost the ballgame. It was just because they couldn't really get a good feel for that gymnasium, and that is to Shawnee or SWIC's advantage, because most visiting teams, and we saw it with Logan as well, they don't shoot well on that floor for whatever reason. I mean, it goes back to when I was a manager at Vincennes. If you look back at those stats, our worst shooting performances were against SWIC, and that's because Coach Harrington likes to get at you physically, make you take bad shots, and then able to most likely compete with you on the boards. And it happened here as well with SWIC and Shawnee. Saturday game had Kaskaskia hosting Wabash Valley, and the Blue Devils were able to pull out a huge victory for themselves, their first victory in district play, with a 48-34 advantage in the first half and an 85-74 overall final score. In the second half, Wabash Valley cut into the lead a little bit, winning that half 40-37. But again, Kaskaskia able to pull up the semi-upset of Wabash Valley, picking up their first win in district play. Let's go ahead and look at the individual stats of this one. If we can get the pitch, though. There we go. For Wabash Valley, Kerr Farlow once again led the way with a 6 out of 11 shooting performance with 14 points, had 4 rebounds, and he was the only Wabash Valley player in double digits. Johnson came off the bench with 7-11 shooting performance, good for 20 points as well. He had 5 rebounds, and then you had Grigsby, who was 4 of 6 shooting, good for 10 points. Those 3 are the only 3 that were in double figures for Coach McGee's team. In both teams, in both the bench and the starters, the leading rebounder was Daniel Robinson with 7 rebounds, all of them being on the defensive side of the glass. He also led the way with 6 assists and 4 steals. He only had 5 points, however. So there is that. For Kaskaskia, they had 3 players in double figures. Markel Newsom had 11 points off of a 4 of 14 shooting performance. He did have a double-double, however, with 10 assists, as well as Jared Mackey. He had a double-double, 5 of 12 shooting performance, good for 14 points, had 10 rebounds, 3 of them being on the offensive side of the glass, and had 3 steals as well. And finally, you had Miles Liddell off of an 8 of 13 shooting performance, good for 18 points, had 5 rebounds, 4 of them being on the defensive glass. But none of that compares to the bench, where Coach Hancock only played 7 players, Lionel Hodge and Terrell Galbraith, both of them being in double figures. Hodge had 11 points off of a 3 of 8 shooting performance, and Galbraith 8 of 11, 23 points. So a huge jump off the bench for Coach Hancock's team, especially when you have a starter that did not score. Again, when you have a starter that doesn't score, that is killer to any type of momentum you try to build. However, the bench was able to step up big for the Blue Devils and was able to pick up once again a huge victory for Kaskaskia. As we look at the game recap here, Kaskaskia was 32 of 66. Wabash was 27 of 68. Wabash did have 11 threes compared to Kaskaskia's 7. But the rebounding battle, Wabash Valley led in that 41-39. But they lost the turnover battle 16-13. And again, that's what really gave Kaskaskia the advantage there. Again, able to have a 14-point advantage at the break. Wabash Valley was able to cut into it a little bit, but just not enough for the Warriors to stay with the top of the pack of the district, and for Kaskaskia picking up their first win in district play. Going into Saturday, 3 teams were winless. 2 of them picked up wins on their Saturday games, and that being SWIC and, like I said, Kaskaskia. Could Olney, the other winless team in the district, pick up their win against Logan? Unfortunately, they could not. They held with the Volunteers for a good portion of the first half. Logan went into the break up 38-27. However, in the second half, the wheels just fell off for Olney Central as Logan scored 48 points while only giving up 18 for the final score of being 86-45 in favor of the Volunteers. Let's go ahead and look at the scoring summary for the Olney Central Blue Knights, led by Jaleel Bethay. 4 of 19 shooting performance, had 14 points, and was the only player in double figures for the Blue Knights. Once again, only playing 7 players. Their legs, and playing 3 games this week, their legs are probably exhausted. Hopefully they had at least a day or 2 off before they had to get ready for their game on tonight. The only other player that really played well was Javon Jones. He had 7 points, 3 of 12 shooting, had 6 rebounds. Caden Miller had 8 rebounds, leading the way for the Blue Knights. Only had 3 points. And once again, off the bench, Cristobal Vargas, 3 of 4 shooting, 4 rebounds, and 8 points for the Blue Knights. For Logan, I don't have any stats for Logan. So, once again, tough for Olney to play 3 really tough games on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday track and trying to pick up a win. Toughest one being Logan, and just falling short in the second half. I think the lactic acid in their legs there really harmed them. Again, only scoring 28 points. They held with Logan for most of that first half. Logan didn't pull away until late in the first half. And then in the second half, they just poured it on. And for Coach Smith-Peters' team, they needed this win because this was a trap game for them. They were looking to keep pace in district play, and they were able to do so with a big victory here. The next game on this slate have the team that is leading the way in district standings and the team that is in third place in district standings with Vincennes and Lakeland College this game was exciting from the word go. Vincennes jumped up to a 40-17 point lead early about midway point in the first half. Lakeland was able to cut it down to 10 points, and Vincennes was able to score a little bit more, going into the break up by 15. But Lakeland once again was able to cut that into single digits. But Vincennes able to post up 52 points in the second half to win the game 102-78. And I know that sounds like a blowout in favor of Vincennes, but like I said, Lakeland was down multiple times by almost 20 points. They almost came back against Logan, being down 20 points in that game on Monday. So it shows the grit in Coach Larry's team here. As a team, Lakeland just couldn't get the ball to go down the hoop. It's simple as that. Vincennes was on fire, 52% from the floor. 9 of 31 from behind the arc, good for 29%. Didn't miss their free throws. Won the rebounding battle, 51-26. It lost the turnover battle big, 15-6 there. But again, Coach Larry's team, they like to run and gun, and they handle the ball really well. I think Wednesday's game was the first time they had double-digit turnovers in a while. For Lakeland, they were led by Samuel Hincapia. 9 of 15 shooting performance, good for 21 points. Johnny Jones was 5 of 8 from the field, good for 12 points. He had 5 rebounds. Hincapia had 5 rebounds as well. Sam had 4 assists. Johnny had 2 assists. Both of them trailed the assist leader in Devin Woods, who had 7 assists with 7 points and 2 rebounds. Off the bench, though, it was Joshua Bryant and Sean Dekonovich that caused problems for Vincennes. Dekonovich, not really in the points category. Defensive-wise, he was able to cause a little bit of problems. He did have 4 assists with 3 steals. It was really Josh Bryant here. 9 of 18 shooting performance, good for 23 points. He did foul out in the game, and that's when Vincennes kind of took over, but he didn't foul out until like 4 minutes left to go in the game. For Vincennes, they had 4 players in double figures. Dalton Williams was the least of them with 10 points off of 5 of 11 shooting. Kanaz Ochugwu had 12 points, 6 of 9 shooting performance. LeBron Thomas, 17 points, 6 of 8 shooting, 3 of 4 from behind the arc. While Michael Cooper was 3 of 9 from behind the arc, had 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 22 points. Off the bench, it was Travell Bryson for the Trailblazers, who got the player of the game recognition from Coach Franklin. 8 of 13 shooting performance, good for 24 points, a team high. He had 7 rebounds and 2 assists. Again, Dalton Williams here, he almost had a triple-double. He was 1 assist shy of a triple-double. So, again, Vincennes able to pick up a huge victory. It really took everybody off the bench, or took bench play, starters to be there. And it was just a good victory for Vincennes. They improved to 15-3 on the season, while Lakeland falls to 15-3 on the season. This game was really entertaining, and again, I look for the rematch in Mattoon to be just as entertaining, to be just as close, because again, this game didn't really get out of hand until Bryant fouled out late into the game. So this game is going to be very interesting to see, and I wouldn't be surprised if these two teams play each other for a chance to go to Hutch in Ina. And the final game of Saturday's slate was a Great Rivers Athletic Conference game, not a district game. Pitted Lincoln Trail against Rend Lake. Rend Lake actually led the game at the break at 49-47. Lincoln Trail was able to regroup and outscore the Warriors 51-37 in the second half to pick up the 98-86 victory. for Lincoln Trail. They were led in scoring by Ty Williams, who was 11 of 21 from the field, good for 29 points. He also had 4 rebounds and 10 assists. Gabe Omaregi had 6 rebounds, 1 assist, good for 18 points off of a 7 of 11 shooting performance. And Ronnie Ellis, 8 of 16 from the field, good for 19 points as well. Had 5 rebounds, 2 assists. And Marlon Bennett, not to be outdone, came off the bench, was 4 of 9 shooting, had 3 rebounds, and finished with 15 points for Lincoln Trail. Rend Lake, I don't have any information for the Warriors on that thing. Again, this was a Great Rivers Athletic Conference, or GRAC, game. It was not to help Lincoln Trail when it came to district standings, and that is why Vincennes actually had the night off on Wednesday night. It was their turn to take on Rend Lake, but their schedule was already full, so they just had an off night, and they will have an off night again when it's their turn to take on the Warriors in district play, because Vincennes is not a part of the Great Rivers Athletic Conference. They are just part of the district. And before I jump into the previews of this week's slate of games, I do want to send my sincerest congratulations to Coach Harrington of Southwestern Illinois College. He picked up his career 1,000th victory Monday night against Jefferson College. It's a huge honor to be able to pick up 1,000 victories. You don't get to do that if you're now a Hall of Fame coach, and Coach Harrington is that. Trying to pull up the story here. Here we go. Southwestern Illinois, again, Coach Harrington picked up his 1,000th victory in 50 years of coaching. He has a career record of 986 and 605 in junior college. He did have a coaching stint when the NCAA had freshman teams, and was 14-9 with Western Kentucky in that aspect as well. Matthew Cuprelzi had 20 points for the Blue Storm. Rijado had 19 points and 11 rebounds, and Dalton Hicks had 14 points. Again, SWIC took on Jefferson, won this one 96-71, as you see here. SWIC held the halftime lead at 45-31 at the break. SWIC led the way in the rebounding margins, 46-19, and was on fire from the floor. And again, Coach Harrington, congratulations on picking up win number 1,000 in your career, and 14 away from 1,000 in junior college coaching. Again, huge honor to be against you for all these years when I was at Vincennes, and it is such a huge thing that couldn't happen to a nicer coach, and just sincerely, congratulations. So with all the games now being played, let's go ahead and jump into district play, starting with the standings of district play. Vincennes leading the way at 5-0. Logan right behind him at 5-1, just a half game back because of that extra game that they have played. Lakeland at 3-2. Wabash Valley at 3-2 as well. So 2 games back of Vincennes there. Lincoln Trail at 2-2, and then we have Shawnee at 2-3, SWIC at 1-3, Kaskaskia at 1-4, and Olney Central pulling up the rear at 0-5. Let's go ahead and jump into Wednesday's sled games, starting with Wabash Valley at Shawnee, 8 o'clock Eastern Time tip-off for this game. And Shawnee looking to bounce back after a loss against SWIC, while Wabash Valley is also looking to come off a loss against Kaskaskia. It's at Wabash Valley. I see the Warriors being able to protect home floor and pick up a win. I think it will be within 5 to 6 points, however, because both teams like to run a little bit. So I give the advantage to Wabash, but not by much. The next game is going to be Lincoln Trail traveling to Mattoon to take on the Lakeland Lakers in this matchup. Lakeland's coming off the loss against Vincennes, while Lincoln Trail had the conference win against Rend Lake. I don't see a way how Lakeland drops this game. Again, they played really well against Logan and Vincennes, and they just had a tough stretch of games this past week. So I think that for this game going to be in favor of Lakeland, because they've already played the tough part of their front half of the district schedule. They still got to play those 3 teams later on in the year, but it won't be as bunched up as it was this previous week. So for that reason, I give Lakeland the advantage. Lincoln Trail I see as a good team. They just haven't gotten over that hump yet, while Lakeland has, for the most part, been able to weather the storm and show that they don't get down on themselves when they face the adversity of being down by 15, 17, 20 points at a time as well. So for that reason, Lakeland, I think they're going to win this game by 10 points. Up next, we have Kaskaskia hosting SWIC in this game. 8 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off for this one as well. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off for this one. So the late game has SWIC traveling to Kaskaskia. I think that both teams coming off of a huge win. One team's going to pick up their second win in district play. I think it might be Kaskaskia just for the fact that it's at their home floor. If this wasn't Belleville, I definitely would be giving the advantage to SWIC. However, I wouldn't be surprised if SWIC picked up the victory here, because once again, they're running that high of getting Coach Harrington's 1,000th win on Monday night. So it should be an interesting game. I see this within 10 to 5 points, within that margin of error. But I do think Kaskaskia will protect home floor, but I wouldn't be surprised if SWIC came out with the victory. Then we have the last district game and the first game to tip off on Wednesday night. That's Olney Central at Vincennes. 7 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off tonight, as Olney looks to pick up their first district win against the team that is leading the district in the standings-wise. In Vincennes, I just don't see it happening for Olney Central. They're playing with a short bench. Starters, again, having all that lactic acid built up from their 3 games this week. I mean, it's just going to be one of those games where Vincennes is going to be able to control the pace, able to control rebounding. There's only a few games that Vincennes has been out-rebounded in, and Olney Central has trouble getting to the boards. With that being said, this is a trapped game for Vincennes. They're looking to continue their pace to potentially be the representative out of District 16, while Olney Central is just trying to find their footing. Again, it's hard when you are only playing 7 players due to injury or whatever is the situation in Olney. And Coach Ledvina has done a great job of doing it, trying to right the ship. It's just going to be a tough task for them to do so against Vincennes on Wednesday night. The final game on Wednesday is John A. Logan traveling to Ina to take on the Warriors of Rend Lake for a conference game, not a district game, as I always mention when I talk about Rend Lake. Logan is on top of the conference standings in the GRAC at 5-0. Rend Lake is 1-5, with their only win being against Olney Central. With that being said, I see no reason why Logan doesn't pick up the victory here. They have had Rend Lake's number for a number of years. It's one of these games where it's a good warm-up game for Logan as they look to continue to win and put pressure on Vincennes for that number 1 seed in Ina come March. Now let's go ahead and move to Saturday's slate of games, starting with Olney Central against Kaskaskia. In this game, I see Olney maybe picking up their first win of the season in district play against the Blue Devils of Kaskaskia. 4 p.m. Central Time or Eastern Time start for this one. Again, this one's just going to be tough for Olney Central to win with such a short bench. I do think it is more possible than their game against Vincennes, to be completely honest. It's just going to be one of those games where Olney is going to have to be able to make buckets. If they can make buckets, and if they can put up 100 points like they did against Lakeland, then this team can be really good and very scary. If they shoot like they did against John Logan, then it might be a long day in Olney for this team. However, I do think they go back to more of a form of against Lakeland. So I think they pick up the win here, pick up their first win in district play, and be the last team to pick up a win in district play. So no team will go like Lincoln Trail did last year with an O-end heading into the tournament play. Now we have SWIC hosting Lakeland in this Saturday game. Again, 4 p.m. Eastern time tip-off for this one. And as much as SWIC can protect home floor, there have been times this season, Logan, Vincennes, that they haven't been able to do so. And Lakeland is one of those teams that likes to run, like Shawnee. However, SWIC did hold home court against Shawnee and was able to protect it. So it all determines on if SWIC is able to win the rebounding battle, not to turn the ball over a ton of times, because Lakeland likes to get into you defensively while they like to push the tempo offensively. Again, SWIC likes to slow down the tempo and make it a number of possession games. And that's hurt them this year and in some possessions, as they are not able to hit shots and then not get the offensive rebound. So it all determines on how the pace is. If it's a fast pace like Lakeland likes, I see Lakeland win this game easily. If it's a slow down, more moderate pace like SWIC likes to play, I think it could be a repeat of the Shawnee game that we saw on Wednesday night or Saturday. But it all determines on what SWIC team shows up and what team and how are they going to be able to stop Lakeland in transition. Then you have Lincoln Trail at John A. Logan. Lincoln Trail, once again, trying to claw their way back up into the rankings, while Logan is trying to hold on to that second spot and maybe take over first place in district standings. This game is going to be very difficult for Lincoln Trail to win. It's at Carterville, where Logan is, so it's going to be one of these games where if Lincoln Trail is able to pull out a victory, it will be a nice surprise, and I think it is possible, as Lincoln Trail and Logan both face the same type of non-district schedule. Logan's was maybe a little bit stronger, but again, Lincoln Trail faced some strong opponents in non-district play. I think it will be within 10 points, but I just see Logan able to protect home floor in Carterville. They don't lose very often there, and I just don't see it happening on Saturday. Again, 4 p.m. Eastern time tip-off for that game. And then you have the only night game. It's a rivalry game between the Vincennes Trailblazers and the Wabash Valley Warriors in Mount Carmel. This is going to be a very interesting game, as both the regular season matchups of these two teams last year was interesting. These two teams met in the championship game in the district. Vincennes being able to win 3 times. So Coach McGee has that ammo for his players that, hey, you haven't beaten this team in 3 attempts. We get a shot tonight. It's on our home floor. Let's go out there and pull out an upset, because Vincennes coming in ranked number 24, even though some other media polls has them as high as 6 and 7. The official NJCAA polls has not come out, and they are still at number 24 in that one. So again, Vincennes coming in at 15-3, Wabash Valley coming in at 10-8. It's going to be a good game. I mean, all these other games are going to be done by that point, so all eyes are going to be on Vincennes and Wabash Valley. What does that really mean? Who knows? Because Vincennes, again, is playing really good basketball. Wabash Valley is starting to find their footing a little bit. So it's going to be all about what team shows up on each way. Vincennes does have to travel to Wabash Valley. So it should be an interesting game. I see it within 10 points. But I do, of course, think Vincennes is going to pull out the victory. Then you have the final game on the slate of Saturday's slate, which is Rend Lake at Shawnee. I see the Saints pulling out a victory here. I don't really see how Rend Lake. I haven't been able to see how Rend Lake plays against a tempo type team. But once again, Shawnee likes to push the tempo. They like to get down the floor and shoot threes or drive to the hole and lay it in. It's going to be one of those games where I would have to see how Rend Lake plays. With that being said, I do want to favor Shawnee just because even though this doesn't hurt them in the district standings, they are looking to get back on track in conference play. That's going to do it for this episode of the Central District Hoops Report. Once again, I want to give my big congratulations to Coach Harrington and his 1,000th career victory, as once again, SWIC able to pull out that win Monday night against Jefferson. 10-6 on the season for SWIC. So big congratulations for Coach Harrington, Hall of Fame coach in the NJCAA. Well deserved. This week's slate of games should be interesting. Again, I see the Olney Central Vincennes game being a trap game for the Trailblazers. Other than that, I see Olney Central maybe picking up their win on Saturday. All these other games are going to be really close and really good. This district is really a grinded out type of district play. And so it'll be interesting to see after next week when we start to see the second round of the round robin being played, see how each team makes their adjustments to one another. But like I said, that's going to do it for this one. I will see you all in the next episode next week. Peace.